friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to share my October reading wrap up with you. I only managed to read 4 books in the month of October. I spent a large majority of the month trying to read Imaginary Friend by Stephen Shabatsky, but I read until about the 300 page mark. I think I was on page like 306 and I decided to DNF it. And I have not been compelled to pick it up since I put it down. So I think it's a permanent DNF, you guys. It just wasn't for me. I wasn't invested in the story or the characters or the writing or the plot or what happened. I wasn't scared by it. I wasn't intrigued by it. It just wasn't for me. So let's jump into the books that I did manage to read in the month of October. The first one that I read was Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. I did a full review of this on my channel already, so if you want to hear my full thoughts, definitely check that out. But the story follows 2 families as their lives intertwine in ways that they never imagined. It spans the course of 40 years, and it's just a really in-depth character look, and I really like that you get to see the story from multiple perspectives. So I rated this one 4 stars, and like I said, if you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts, that review is available on my channel for you to check out. The next book that I read is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This is the first book that I have read by him, and this one was really gruesome, you guys. I ended up reading it 4 stars. It's about a girl and her 2 fathers that are vacationing in this remote cabin in New Hampshire, and they're a handful of miles from the Canadian border. They just really needed a break from the city life, so they go out there just for some family time, and this guy shows up and starts talking to the little girl while she's catching grasshoppers in the front yard, and he tells her, you know, I'm gonna need you to go get your dads and tell them that we're gonna have some tough, you know, questions for them, and basically like a proposition for them, and it's gonna be scary, but we can get through it. The little girl and her 2 dads, they get taken hostage basically in the cabin by a gang of strangers that tell them that they need their help to save the world. It's horrifying and it's very gruesome and graphic, some of the things that end up happening, and it was a very quick read. It's a pretty short book. It's less than 300 pages. It's like around the 260 page mark, so you should get through it fairly quickly anyway. But I really enjoyed this. It was a lot different than I was expecting. I ended up only giving it 4 stars instead of 5 stars because I really wanted more from the ending. But everything else was pretty great. I loved the writing, I loved the characters, I loved the plot. I just wanted more from the ending. The next book I picked up is Sadie by Courtney Summers, and I did do a reading vlog of this in the next book that I read this month. I ended up rating this 4 stars as well, again because I wanted a little bit more from the ending. If you've read this, I wanted more from the ending, and I'm sure you would know if you've read it before what that is. Some people like the ending, some people want more, but this story is about our main character Sadie, who is on this path to seek revenge for her sister Maddie, who was killed. So it's kind of like a revenge plot. She's trying to track her sister's killer, but there's also other chapters that are these transcripted podcast chapters. And I love true crime podcasts. I listen to them all the time. I was thinking about doing a recommendation of podcasts that I have listened to and recommend, especially like true crime podcasts, like that genre of podcast. So I really loved that element woven into this story, and I think it was a great way to tell the story because in Sadie's chapters she's following clues and hunting down this killer, and then in the podcast transcript chapters you're tracking Sadie because this radio personality guy, West McCrae, is implored to find 19-year-old Sadie, who's like basically run away, and find out where she is and what happened to her and what's going on and stuff like that. So it was fast-paced. I loved the storytelling aspect of it because it did flip back and forth between the podcasts and Sadie's chapters. I definitely wanted more from the ending, and that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But I highly recommend this if you like true crime podcasts and like thriller novels. it was a great combination. The last book that I read in October is What She Knew by Jilly McMillan. This is her debut novel, and I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars, which is kind of disappointing because during my reading experience, I was really enjoying it, and it was going a lot faster than you would think for this long of a story. It's almost 500 pages. Yeah, 470, no, 400 and, yeah, 467 pages. So it was on the longer side, but it seemed much shorter than that just because of how it was written. The basic storyline of this one is single mother Rachel allows her 8-year-old son Ben to run ahead on a familiar path in the woods where they normally go. It's like their usual hangout where they take walks. They have their dog with them. She said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And she gets up to where they decided to meet, and Ben has vanished. So as the police investigate, secrets from the past resurface, and it's just all about trying to find Ben and who done it. So the chapters are broken up into Rachel's chapters, Jim, who is the main investigator or DI on the case. So DI Clemo is the main investigator. And then there's also chapters that are like these reports or interviews between D.I. Clemo and Dr. Manelli, and kind of those are really after the case, but you're seeing it during the case. And there's also quotes and facts about missing persons from various websites and stuff, and there's also like a blog, and there's also emails and stuff like that. So I really did like the reading experience of it. I felt like here's like one of the interview type pages, chapters, and then here's some information woven in like facts. There's like one of the blogs or web pages. And then here's an email. There is like quotes or information. So it'll start like day 6 or whatever, and it'll give you a little fact that you can read and stuff like that. So I really liked the writing. The writing made it easy and interesting to read, but I never felt like progress was being made on Ben's disappearance. I never felt like we were trying to get to the bottom of it. Like things were being done, but it felt like it was being done in such a slow way. And also I didn't love the ending of this one. I really wanted more, and this made me think about like real cases about children going missing, and how sometimes like the media immediately thinks it's the parents, and sometimes it is, and that's so tragic. But sometimes the parents have like a little intuition, and I think the police need to pay a little bit more attention to that. And I think if they would have done that in this story, then things could have been solved sooner. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I really did enjoy it, and I probably would have rated it 4 stars if they would have made a little bit more progress on the actual case. So there's some side plots going on that deal with the characters that are in the story, but that don't relate directly to the disappearance of Ben. And I just thought that those could have been left out, and we could have focused more on the actual disappearance of them, and it would have made for a stronger story. But overall, I did enjoy it, and this is her debut, and I'm excited to try other stuff by her. But for the time being, I rated this 3 out of 5 stars. So these are the books that I read in October. Not as much as I would have liked. If I had to rate Imaginary Friend for what I read, the 300 pages I read of it, I probably would give it like 2 stars, just because it wasn't like the most awful thing I've ever read, but I definitely wasn't ever like fully engaged or invested. So that's all for this wrap up. Let me know what you read in October, what you enjoyed, what you didn't, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Bye.